Welcome to my final 2024 election predictions, so let's start. And there we go, so as you can see, the states are filled in, and we can begin with Kansas. So in Kansas, we got this very interesting poll, similar to the Selzer poll from just a few days ago, but this one showing Trump only winning here by 5%. I still think that's going to be an outlier. As you can see, they also have another pollster showing Trump by 11. You know, from 2016 to 2020 took a humongous swing to the left. Maybe that happens yet again, but still I have Kansas by probably like 12 to 14%, but we will see. This could easily drop into the likely category. And now for New Mexico. So in New Mexico, according to polls, Harris is really not doing that well compared to Joe Biden, who won it here back in 2020 by almost 11%. Last poll only has Harris by 5. I do heavily disagree with these polls. I do think Harris is on track to win here by 9 to 11%, but it all depends on how Latinos vote in 2024. And now we can move on to Maine at large. Not that much to talk about, so I think it's gonna be probably like 8 to 10% in 2024. Probably the same margin as 2020, but yeah, I'm gonna have that as around 9%. And since we're here for the 2nd district of Maine, of course, for Maine, in my opinion, Maine's probably one of the few states that could swing to the right from 2020. Still, you got these polls, all over the place. The 2nd district, last polls have this all the way from 4 to 9%. Still, I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm gonna have this as like a 7 to 9% win for Donald Trump here. And now, from way more interesting state, unfortunately, for Virginia. So Virginia, early voting has been quite bad for Democrats, but as you can see, polls have this around all the way from 1% to 10%. Still, I do think Virginia, especially like Nova and the DC suburbs, I don't see a way that Trump can somehow win this state. I still think she probably does worse than Biden. Kamala, I think she does worse than Biden in 2024. And I think I'm gonna drop the margin to 7 to 9% just from the early voting we've seen, but still I don't think it's gonna be below 5 in my opinion, but we will see, who knows. And now for the home state of Donald Trump in Florida. In Florida, Trump is running away with it according to the latest polls. We got all these polls. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten a really amazing poll in a while. Last one was this one from YouGov. It's showing like around the 5% margin of victory, and we go right here. There's still a bunch of undecideds, and it's Florida, so I'm guessing they're probably going to go to Trump still. I'm not sure about the Latino vote. We'll see how that goes, but I'm gonna think it's going to take a huge swing to the right from 2020, by the way. I'm going to guess Donald Trump will win Florida by around a margin of 7 to 9%. There's also the chance he wins here by a safe margin if a lot of people from the United States have moved into Florida. Could be the actual reality, but yeah, I'm gonna have Trump win here by 8%. And now for one of the key, electoral votes for both parties, for Nebraska in their 2nd district. We can just the 1st district. We got that poll that shows Trump at 8, but I think it's gonna be above 12%, so that's why I'm not talking about it. For the 2nd district, you actually got YouGov showing Harris easily winning here. You also got Siena and New York Times showing a landslide victory in the suburban district in the 2nd district of Nebraska. And the polling going so far to the left in the last month, and just everything going on with Selzer showing with whites and college graduates moving towards the left. I think that's another reason why I'm gonna move Nebraska into the margin of 7 to 9%, and that's a big swing from 2020. So yeah, I think Kamala Harris wins the 2nd district by more than Biden. And for the Rust Belt, I'm gonna actually have a really hot take in this video, but yeah, let's start off with Ohio already. Ohio, you actually have Trump and Vance winning here by 9%, according to polls, because we got the Emerson poll showing landslide victory for Trump Vance. And I think it's perhaps finally showing the fact that Vance is maybe helping Trump on the ticket. I don't know. Who knows what's happening, but we got that Maris poll too showing Trump by 6. Still, I don't know if it's going to be a swing to the left or to the right in 2024. It just really depends on that bunch of issues, because if the economy is is like the number one issue, I'd see a red wave happening and Trump winning. But if abortion or democracy is number one issue, it would be a blue wave. Still, I'm gonna leave my margin of 7 to 9% victory for Trump Vance in Ohio for my final prediction, but I'm actually gonna have Iowa to the left of Ohio. So, as many of you know, we got some groundbreaking polls from Iowa, as you can see here. That poll from Selzer was groundbreaking in the electoral community on, Twitter and everywhere in the world. Harris by 3 still doesn't make sense, but bear in mind, RFK Jr. gets 3% of the vote, and I expect most of this to go to Donald Trump, and probably a decent amount of these to go to undecideds. But even if you give those out, and the margin of error too, that's maximum a Trump victory by 6, 7, 8% at most with a polling miss. And that's not a really good sign. I do think that perhaps states that have current or new abortion bans could vote unexpectedly more to the left in 2024 compared to 2020. I don't have Iowa by a lean margin, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. I have Iowa only going for Donald Trump by 6 to 8%. Still, yeah, because of the abortion ban, probably, and the college graduates and whites not looking as good for Donald Trump in this election. So, yeah, from a hot take in my final video, I actually have Iowa going to the left of Ohio, which is crazy. But yes, only barely a 7% win for Donald Trump in Iowa. And I'll talk about abortion bans in just a minute for Texas. But now let's go to New Hampshire. In New Hampshire, things have awkwardly narrowed up for Harris in the last polls, even though I don't really understand why. Oh yeah, because of this Proconi's poll, probably. But still, New Hampshire, I don't see with abortion being a major issue, probably top 5 at least. I think it's probably gonna go either by the same margin as 2020 for Biden, or even more to the left from 2020, which would be kind of crazy, especially since in 2016, some of you don't know, boom, almost went to Trump. But yeah, I think Harris wins New Hampshire by 6 to 8% easily in 2024. And for a state that Trump is really probably going to do worse from 2020 to 2024 in Alaska. In Alaska, we haven't gotten a lot of polls, unfortunately. I was hoping we get maybe one more. I still expect Trump to do poorly compared to 2020. I don't expect him to hit double digits unless abortion is bottom issue or something like that. Still, I think he's on track to winning here by 6 to 8%. So yeah, at least a 2 to 4% swing to the left compared to 2020 in my opinion. And now back to the Rust Belt. Minnesota pretty much looks like a safe, no, I shouldn't say it. Looks like a lock, Looks like a lock for the Harrison Walls ticket. Looking pretty good. You got even active vote showing a victory by 5%. And I think this is a state that I'm not, Trump, I don't think he has visited Minnesota in a while. He has visited Virginia and New Mexico. But yeah, I think Democrats win here by 5 to 7%. Maybe they do better than 2020 if abortion is a very important issue. But for now, for my final prediction, I have Harris winning here by 6%. And now for the state that I could see perhaps moving down into the lean R category for Texas. So talking about the abortion ban in Iowa. For Texas, as you can see here, I think the reason why Iowa could take a swing to the left was because of the abortion ban. And that could also mean an icky situation for Republicans, since Iowa is 6 weeks ban, I think. And then Texas is just a limited exception, so it's more restrictive, you could say. So that could really be an issue for Republicans, and that's why if that poll from Selzer is even, I'm not even going to say somewhat true, I do think it's probably going to be off by at least 4. That does spell quite bad for Republicans in Texas. And the latest polls, let me see, we go to those polls. Actually, they show Trump almost winning here by 10%. No, winning here by 8, which would be more than what he got in 2020. And that's the thing, that if abortion is number one issue, Texas could be awkwardly close for Republicans. But still, you've heard how every single election Blex is going to happen. I don't think it will. This is awkward. I have this state going for the Republicans by 4 to 6%. Technically, it's a likely state, but just barely a likely state. Could easily fall off into the lean R category. But yeah, I have this going to Trump by only 5% in a swing to the left from my last video. And that's it. We can now move on to the true full lean states, and let's begin with Michigan. Actually, Michigan is looking like to be the most favorable state for VP Harris to win in 2024. You got the latest polls from research. You got Trafalgar with some weird polls. Why is that saying even when it's... Oh, that's an error from 538. Sorry about that, I think. Let me go on Wikipedia then, because there's errors in 538. Still, as you can see, polling is all over the place. Atlas has this as an easy Trump victory. One of the most accurate 2020 pollsters. You got Emerson showing a narrow win for Harris, and from the early voting, it's looking pretty good for Democrats. Most likely swing state for Kamala Harris to keep in 2024. I think she wins here by 1.5 to 3.5%. I think the youth vote is another thing that is helping Michigan Democrats quite a lot. I think they have one of the better organizing, especially for young votes, and that's really what's helping them quite a lot. Yeah, pretty good sign for Democrats. But now we can move on to another lean state for North Carolina. North Carolina, so it's very narrow for Trump according to 538, and the polls are really all over the place. You got Siena showing a Harris victory by anywhere from 2 to 4%. You got other pollsters like, Atlas showing a victory for Trump by 4%, so it's all over the place. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to Harris or if it goes to Trump, but just because of the fact that so many elections, Democrats have been like, oh, we're gonna win North Carolina. We're gonna win North Carolina. But it never happens. The one time I don't predict I swear to God, if North Carolina goes blue, the one time I predicted to go red, I'm actually gonna be pissed. But yeah, I have Donald Trump winning North Carolina by a margin of, technically it's 0.75% to 2.75%. But, average that out would be a 1.75% margin of victory for him. And now, that's it for the lean states. We can make a big announcement. So, later today, I'm going to live stream the election results at 5:30 Central Time, and I hope to see you there. It's going to be quite fun. I'm probably going to stay until midnight, if not more, maybe 1 a.m. And I hope to see you there, of course. It's going to be quite fun. And I can't wait, most importantly. And now for the tilt states, let's start off with Pennsylvania. Okay, so Pennsylvania 538 has this as a true toss-up. I'm not going to use Polymarket because they're kind of biased. The polls are all over the place. You got Harris by 1, Trump by 1. But yeah, here's my take on it. Here's some more polling. That there's even ties on 538 and 270. Yeah, in my opinion, I think even though Democrats only have a 400K firewall, as they say it, I do still believe Harris is going to narrowly win Pennsylvania. Extremely close. I expect her to win a decent chunk of independents and maybe some like Nikki Haley voters to her side. I think she's done quite well in the last few days of the campaign. Still, it's going to be an extremely narrow margin, and we won't get results on it probably until like Wednesday at best. I have her winning here by 0.75%, but yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's within the margin of error, but I think she has enough power with college graduates to get a victory in the state. Still, anything can happen. And now we can move on to Georgia. Georgia, which is having sky-high turnout yet again, which is not really a good sign for Republicans in my opinion, but yeah, polling industry has this as an easy victory for Donald Trump. You got Atlas by 3, Emerson by 1. Even the only ones that are predicting a Harris victory is Siena, which could very well happen. But they only have 44 and 43%, by the way, which is kind of weird. Yeah, they also got 48 and 47, but yeah, my arm's getting tired because, ouch, ouch, ouch. I can't feel my arm. Please like the video. I literally can't feel my arm because I'm using 2 laptops right now. But yeah, my take for Georgia is that I expect Harris to not do as good with African American voters compared to 2020. Still, it depends on so many issues, but Georgia is by far one of the better states, and it's the most likely state, in my opinion, for Donald Trump to flip in 2024, thankfully, on election night. If you watch the stream that we're gonna do later today, Georgia should be one of the first swing states called, and maybe it's called by, before midnight, hopefully. And yeah, if Trump, that's gonna be something big to talk about on the election eve later today. So yeah, have your eyes on Georgia. And now we can move on to Nevada. So as many of you know, like I posted yesterday as soon as I saw it, in Nevada, John Ralston, one of the most highly trusted journalists in the political world, has Harris barely winning in Nevada by 0.3% and Rosen by 5, which is my prediction. But yeah, as you can see, it's extremely close. The polls, on the other hand, they're not showing that. They show a Trump victory, I think. Oh wait, I think that was a few days ago. If we go right now, oh yeah, they actually still show a Trump victory by 0.5%. So he's going against polling, kind of similar to 2022. You also got Sienna, one of the more, probably like my top 5 pollsters, showing Harris winning here by a lean margin of 2 to 3%, which would be kind of like similar to 2020. There's a lot of others too, so yeah. But I do agree with John Ralston on the reason why he thinks Harris will win here by a tall margin. Ralston expects independents and registered Republicans who likely voted against Trump in the primary, voting for like Nikki Haley, for example. He thinks a majority, and a big chunk of them, will vote for Kamala Harris, which I do see as well, and that's why I have Nevada barely going to Harris by a bit more than Ralston, actually. I have Harris winning here by 0.5%. It could maybe even be a lean D, perhaps, if that Sienna poll is correct. But like you saw with that poll, it's within the margin of error, so Trump could easily win it. Still, I do think Harris narrowly wins the state by 0.5% because of those registered, or I should say those kind of like Trojan horse Republicans silently voting for Harris instead of Trump, for example, because they don't like Trump's personality. And now, let's see, we can now move on to Arizona. So Arizona, the polls in the polling industry showing almost a landslide victory for Trump by almost 5%. I shouldn't say landslide, but yeah, anyway. You got most polls saying 1%, 4%, 3%. You even get Atlas, one of the more accurate overall 2020 pollsters, having Trump winning by 7, almost double digits. Still, don't forget the McCain Republicans, aka those Trojan horse Republicans who, I shouldn't say that, that might actually be insensitive. I should say those McCain Republicans who are voting for Kamala Harris just because of the fact they don't like Trump, even though they like his policies more. That's really the main reason why I actually have this state dropping from lean R to tilt R in my final video. Still think immigration is a big issue for Arizona and some voters, and that's really the thing that saves Trump in my final prediction. But I wouldn't be surprised if Harris wins the state, especially like abortion is the bigger issue than immigration for voters. That could very well be the reason she wins it, but it's gonna be hard for her because Biden barely won it in 2020. So yeah, I have Trump barely winning Arizona in my final video by 0.5%, mainly winning because of immigration. But yeah, now we can move on to the final swing state and to the final one, actually, that will decide it all. For Wisconsin, the polling is quite friendly to Harris, but bear in mind, if you go back the last cycles and the cycles before, polls do tend to be quite friendly to Democrats. So that's the big issue for Democrats in 2024. Still, for some reason, you got Trafalgar saying Harris wins Wisconsin, but I think they had Trump winning Michigan, which is a curse map. You got Atlas barely seeing Trump winning here by 1%. But then you got Sienna having Harris up by 2 to 3%, and then Atlas only has Trump by 1%. It's a very close election. I don't think it's going to be a lean margin unless college graduates go Speedy Gonzalez to the left or something like that. And I'm Latino, I can say that. The issue is the GOP. The reason the GOP door knocking is not as good. One of the things that could also ruin Arizona for the GOP is door knocking. It's quite less efficient from what I've seen, numbers wise, and just the anecdotes I've seen. It's not that good compared to Democrats who are door knocking like a machine. And that's really, and with abortion, it's basically abortion versus immigration. And I think Harris will barely win Wisconsin by a tilt margin, by 0.5%, but it's extremely close. Trump could easily win this state because one of the Achilles here for Harris is the low approval rating of the Biden administration still. For my final map in the 2024 election cycle, I have VP Kamala Harris winning with 276 electoral votes against Donald Trump's and JD Vance's 262 electoral votes in a very close matchup. I hope to see you later in the stream tonight, and as always, feel free to leave a like, join the Discord and the channel membership, and as always, have a good one. Bye!